Friends, hello and welcome. I am making an attempt to give an overview of valuation process in coming 10 minutes time. Let me share my screen with you. I believe that my screen is shared right now. So friends, in order to give an overview, I have to explain some of the basic concepts of valuation. For that thing, I'll be referring to the valuation standards which are issued by the Valuation Standards Board of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. On my screen, I'm showing right now a list of 8 valuation standards. One can see under the series 100, there are 3 valuation standards. Valuation standard 101, 102, 103. These are the standards which deal with the fundamental aspects of valuation. These are important, and I believe that every valuer needs to have a thorough idea about these concepts in order to discharge his responsibility as a valuer. And these 100 series standards, they deal with definitions, valuation bases, valuation approaches, and methods. Now, if you move to these 200 series standards, you can observe that these are the standards which deal with some specific aspects of valuation process, like scope of work, analysis, evaluation, reporting, documentation. Now, if you move to the 300 series standards, you can see that these are the standards which deal with valuation of some specific assets, like valuation of business, valuation of intangible assets, or valuation of financial instruments. So, having understood or having understood the structure of these valuation standards, let us first of all learn what is the meaning of value. For that thing, I have to refer to valuation standard 101, where the value has been defined. You can read the definition here, which is appearing on the screen. But what the definition says value is an estimate of value of business or business ownership interest. That means when we are talking about the value, we might be talking about the value of a business or maybe value of and business ownership interest, like value of equity. And how this value has to be arrived at. It has to be arrived at by applying the valuation procedures appropriate for a valuation engagement. So valuer has to decide what is the appropriate procedure. There might be multiple procedures, out of which valuer has to select the most appropriate procedure. Sometimes valuer may decide to apply multiple procedures. And he has to also use his professional judgment. Since selection of appropriate procedures are involved and professional judgments is involved, there is a possibility that valuer may end up with a single value or maybe a range of values. So when you refer to value, value means it may be a single value or maybe a range of value. So friends, after that, having understood the meaning of value, let us try to understand what is the meaning of valuation. For that thing, I'm referring to ICAI Valuation Standard 103, which is talking about business valuation. It is explained as the act or process of determining the value of a business and the price of ownership interest. That means the act or process of determining value will be referred to as valuation or business valuation. Friends, now we will quickly move to the concept of valuation methodology. We need to understand that how this value has to be arrived at. And for that purpose, I'm taking you to ICAI Valuation Standard 301 on business valuation. Here, in a step-by-step manner, the valuation methodology has been explained. I think it will be very easy to appreciate that. It says, in performing a valuation assignment, and valuer shall A, determine the premise of value. The first step is to determine the valuation premises. What are these valuation premises? Very shortly, I'll be explaining you. But right now, just to give you an idea, you can kindly see that That valuation standard 102 talks about premises of value. Here you can see there are 5 types of premises of value which are referred to. Highest and best use value, going concern value, as is where is value, orderly liquidation value, forced transaction value. These are the 5 types of premises of value. And this, when I say premises of value, what I mean is that the conditions and circumstances, how an asset is deployed. Here, valuer has to appreciate the condition and circumstances in which the asset is deployed. And on that basis, he has to select the valuation premises. We'll be talking detail about that after some time. But first, we have to define the valuer has to define the premise of value. Next, valuer, what valuer has to do? He has to analyze the asset to be valued. That means the nature and characters of the assets needs to be analyzed, and he has to collect the necessary information. The valuation has to be done on the basis of some information. That information may be financial or maybe non-financial in nature. All this information which are relevant has to be collected. Third step is that identify the adjustments to the financial and non-financial information. Friends, you see, suppose the valuer is conducting valuation as of today, and the information which is available, they might be pertaining to a different date. In that situation, some adjustments might be required. So valuer needs to identify the adjustments to this type of information. After that, the next step is that consider and apply appropriate valuation approaches and methods. Friends, will be learning shortly. There are 3 types of valuation approaches. One is market approach, second is income approach, third one is the cost approach. Under each approach, there are multiple valuation methods. So here, the challenge for the valuer is to see that in a given premises or a given set of premises, what is the most appropriate valuation approach, and under that, what is the most appropriate valuation methods. It is possible that sometimes valuer may select multiple approaches or multiple methods. And after applying these approaches and methods, valuer will be able to arrive at the value. So the next step is that arrive at the value or a range of values. When multiple approaches are applied, valuer may end up with a range of values. Now value has been arrived at, but next step is that identify the subsequent events. So post valuation date, if there are some subsequent events, that also needs to be considered by the valuer. This is the step-by-step approach, or these are the steps for steps of valuation methodology. Yes, friends. Now, what are the premises of value? I had explained you briefly. So once again, I'm showing you these are the 5 types of valuation premises which are discussed in ICA Valuation Standard 102. Here you can see first valuation premises is highest and best use value, which is popularly referred to as ABU. Here, this refers to a valuation premises. The value is arrived at value of the asset is arrived at its highest and best use. If for some reason the asset is not, the existing use is not the highest and best use, here valuer also has to consider the conversion cost, if any, to convert that asset to its highest and best use. So on that basis, value has to determine this premises is referred to as highest and best use value. Under going concern value premises, the value of business is determined assuming that business is expected to continue to operate in future. So business is a going concern. On that premises, value is determined. And under as is where is value, here values, this is a type of value considering the existing use of the asset. Existing use may not be its best use, may not be the highest use, but considering that use, value is determined. Next type of premises is orderly liquidation value. Here, the realizable value of an asset on liquidation is considered. And here liquidation means proper liquidation, liquidation after allowing appropriate marketing efforts and reasonable period of time. So in this situation, with proper marketing efforts with reasonable time. If liquidation is done, what will be its value? And in that premises, valuation is done. Fifth type of premises is forced transaction value. Here, the premises is that the seller is under constraint to sell an asset without appropriate marketing efforts. In fact, the seller is forced to liquidate the asset or forced to enter into the transaction. In that situation, if that situation is concerned, that is referred to as a post-transaction value premises. And valuer has to select the appropriate premises in a given assignment, and then he has to move on to compute the value. And what I told you, this has been explained in the appropriate paragraphs of the valuation standards. One can read it. This is the definition of, this is the explanation to the highest and best use. What is going concern value, that also has been explained in the valuation standard in para 45 and 46. What is the meaning of as is whereas is basis, that is also explained. What is the meaning of orderly liquidation value, that also explained. Post transaction values, that has also been explained. All these things are explained. I am not covering it right now in this short video. One more concept, which is also basic, every valuer is need to appreciate, that what is valuation base? Valuation base means the indication of the type of value being used in an assignment. Valuer also has to decide what is the base valuation base he is selecting, or what type of value he will be using. Three types of valuation bases are discussed in valuation standard. One is fair value, that refers to price in an orderly transaction. Second is participant specific value, that refers to a value considering specific advantages and disadvantages to the participants. Third type of valuation base is liquidation value. This refers to a situation of sale of an asset or a group of assets in an actual or hypothetical termination of the business. Here, valuer contemplates that asset is going to be disposed or business is going to be disposed. Maybe actually or hypothetically, he has to contemplate that. On that basis, he has to decide what is the appropriate valuation base. Now, after getting this idea that what is valuation base, what is valuation premises, and what is the valuation methodology, now let us quickly cover various types of valuation approaches which are relevant to arrive at the value. So as you can see in the screen, the valuation approaches are dealt in ICI Valuation Standard 103. Three types of approaches are there. One is market approach, second is income approach, third one is cost approach. Under market approach, valuation is done considering the market data. You can see three types of methods are there under this market approach. Market price approach, where market price for a specific period is considered to arrive at the value. Comparable companies multiple method. This is one more method where comparable companies are identified and a multiple factor is computed. On that basis, value of the business or value of an asset is decided. Then comparable transaction multiple method. Here comparable transactions are identified and on the basis of a multiple value is decided under market approach. Coming to income approach, various types of methods are there. Cash flow discounting method. Here what happens, the future maintainable cash flows are arrived at by discounting these cash flows, value of the business or value of the entity is arrived at. Then earning capitalization method, the future earnings of the business is capitalized. Dividend discount models, the dividends are considered as the real cash flow, and on that basis, by arriving at their present value, the value of the business is decided. And under intangible asset, if we are following income approach for valuation of intangible assets, there are various methods like relief from royalty method. Here it is assumed that if there will be some relief because let us say the business is having some intangible asset, and because of which is getting a relief from royalty payment. Then by capitalizing that royalty, the value of that intangible assets are arrived at. Similarly, multi-period excess earning method, the excess earning over a period is capitalized to arrive at the value of intangible asset. With and without method, the value of the business with intangible asset is arrived at, and value of the business without intangible asset is arrived at. The difference is considered as the value of intangible assets. Option pricing model, there are also two popular models, popular methods are there for that thing, Black and Scholes model and your binomial model, that will be appropriate. Coming to cost approach, here two methods are suggested. One is replacement cost method, where the cost required to replace the service capacity of the asset is considered. And on that basis, the value of the asset is decided. And one more method is there, that is referred to as reproduction cost method. Here, the cost to recreate a replica of asset is considered, and that is considered as the value, that is regarded as the value of the asset under cost approach. So this broadly explains various approaches and methods under each approach. And this has been explained in appropriate paragraphs of the standards. You can refer to what is market approach in detail. That is, this valuation approach uses the prices and other relevant information generated by market transactions. Similarly, what is income approach, that is also explained in the standard, and what is cost approach, that is also explained in the standard. So in this short video, in fact, everything is, I to acknowledge that everything is not covered in detail. This was just an attempt to very briefly give you a broad idea of the overview of valuation. Thank you very much.